For centuries, the samurai were the heart of Japan's warrior culture, rising from early defenders of noble lands to a powerful class that shaped history. Masters of combat and strategy, they lived by Bushido, a strict code of honor that governed their every action. Their iconic two swords, the katana and wakizashi, symbolized their skill and spirit, while rituals like seppuku reflected their unyielding dedication to honor. Yet, as peace settled under the shogunate and modernization swept Japan, the samurai's role faded, leading to their ultimate decline. This is the story of their rise, glory, and fall. The samurai didn't always exist in the glorified form we imagine today. Their roots can be traced back to the Heian period in Japan, a time when the imperial court dominated the political landscape. The emperor ruled from Kyoto, and the countryside was largely lawless. Early samurai weren't noblemen, but warriors hired by powerful landowners to defend their estates from bandits and rival clans. As the central government weakened, these landowners relied more heavily on warriors to maintain order, marking the beginning of the samurai class. These early samurai, known as bushi, weren't yet the highly disciplined warriors we associate with the term today. They were primarily archers on horseback, skilled in guerrilla-style tactics. Their main role was to protect the interests of their lords, and loyalty to these lords was paramount. The seeds of the samurai's eventual rise to power were planted during this time, as their military skills became invaluable to the increasingly fragmented political landscape. As political control of the imperial court weakened further, power began to shift into the hands of regional samurai families, whose influence grew significantly during the Genpei War from 1180 to 1185. This 5-year conflict, fueled by rivalries between the powerful Taira and Minamoto clans, was not merely a struggle for dominance, but a turning point in Japan's political structure. The war saw dramatic battles, including the naval clash at Dan-no-ura in 1885, where the Taira were decisively defeated, marking the fall of their dynasty. With the Minamoto's triumph, led by Minamoto no Yoritomo, the era of imperial dominance gave way to military governance. In 1292, Yoritomo was appointed as shogun, solidifying his authority and formally establishing the Kamakura shogunate from 1185 to 1333. This new system not only elevated the samurai from regional enforcers to the ruling elite, but also laid the foundation for a feudal order in Japan, where loyalty and military service to a lord became the cornerstone of governance. Over time, the samurai class developed a distinct ethos, shaped by Confucian ideals, Zen Buddhism, and the Bushido Code, which emphasized honor, discipline, and martial skill. These cultural and political shifts marked the beginning of a centuries-long era where samurai authority eclipsed that of the emperor and the aristocracy. Training of samurais often beginning in childhood. Samurai boys were taught to ride horses, shoot arrows, and later to wield a sword. Martial prowess was essential, but they also studied strategy, history, literature, and even poetry to become well-rounded warriors. Their education reflected the belief that to be a great fighter, one had to develop the mind as well as the body. Over time, their function expanded beyond just fighting. They became stewards, governors, and administrators of their lords' lands. Before the Bushido Code was fully formalized, samurai loyalty was purely to their lords, not necessarily to a strict moral or ethical framework. Their role was essentially pragmatic, to protect and expand their lord's domain, fight rival clans, and ensure their master's power. The samurai could be ruthless and brutal, especially in battle. They believed that honor came from victory, and anything less than total success was seen as a personal failure. This mentality would evolve in later centuries as the samurai code became more deeply rooted in ethical teachings. As Japan entered the Kamakura period, The establishment of the shogunate solidified the samurai's political power. The shogun, the military leader, held more authority than the emperor, ruling through a system that blended feudalism and military governance. While the emperor remained a symbolic figure in Kyoto, the shogun controlled the country through his military might, relying on samurai warriors as the backbone of his rule. This power shift not only elevated the samurai's status, but also changed their role. From landowners' private warriors to the official ruling class of Japan, under the shogunate, the samurai's responsibilities expanded. They were now expected not only to fight, but also to manage lands and collect taxes, becoming administrators and bureaucrats. This new role demanded a balance between the sword and the pen, which is why samurai increasingly focused on education and governance alongside their martial skills. The Kamakura shogunate lasted for nearly 150 years before being overthrown, but it established a template for future samurai-led governments.